all respected elderly dignitaries, friends and colleagues. I greet myself seated very much within you, and I feel you also very much within me. So in the words of Gnani Purush, me as you and you as me, with that oneness, I begin this talk of holistic vision and integral living. A small prayer, Asadoma Sadagamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. We pray the enlightened ones to guide us from the darkness of ignorance or wrong beliefs or ill understandings to the light, eternal light of correct understanding, so that from the world of temporary happiness and temporary truths, I can travel to the perpetual or permanent truths. So, friends, let's see what is the need for holistic inner science. I myself was asking me, what's the need? Because progress in outer or physical sciences, stem cell technology, ready to create a new human being, nanotechnology, neutrinos, information technology and cloud. I have everything. I'm ready to conquer the world. God is not required. Then in this scenario, what is the need for inner science? And when I started searching within, I found that, well, do I have inner unrest? Do I have disadjustments, clashes, and stresses? And I found that proportionate to my income packages, proportionate to my position, and proportionate to the gadgets I am having, my stress is also multiplying. So it is said that Adi, Vyadhi, and Upadhi. Adi means mental suffering, Vyadhi means bodily suffering, and Upadhi means I am sailing nicely and peacefully, somebody disturbing me or disturbance on somebody on account of somebody else. So Shankar Bhagavan's Trishul probably reflects these three afflictions. So is there a way to remain in samadhi or eternal bliss even amongst Adi, Vyadhi, Upadhi? Tell me if I'm not audible properly. I don't mind interrupting you in between. So if I go one step ahead, well, I have solved these issues. What about my inner weaknesses of anger, greed, pride, deceit, attachments, and aversions? I want to overcome them. And what's the way out? So amongst all this, my first basic need is to have happy, harmonious, human living. Not only human, but human living with human qualities. And I have several questions which I'll put later on. So, only holistic inner science, two ways. The outer science is welcome, all the advances are welcome, but how it can be complemented or synergistically helped, it is by way of the holistic inner science which will make the whole thing, and it's only the holistic inner science which ultimately will give me the answer. Science cannot be wrong, all knowledge is welcome, but the use should be guided by holistic visions. So what is the holistic inner science or Vitarag Vignan? That's my second question. So it is the science of I am. Everybody knows I am. With my own mind, body, speech, my inner circumstances and outer circumstances. Right now we all sitting here are outer circumstances for each other, and whatever is going inside, including our feelings and experiences, is the inner circumstances, and universe as a whole, and the natural regulatory mechanisms. So it is the science of relative self versus real self. In other words, science of Atman versus Anatman, Purush versus Prakriti, or subtly to say cause and effects. What exactly is leading to causes and what exactly brings out the effects? In other words, it's the science of Chetan or pure conscious versus the world of matter. And in practical terms, for practical utility, it is the science of Vyavhar Vignan. That is to say, affecting my day-to-day living within myself and interconnectedly, starting from there right up to Keval Gnan, that is the absolute pure ultimate knowledge. It encompasses the whole journey right from Vyavhar Vignan to Keval Gyan. So what are the transformations and benefits? Third question, what I would gain, what I expect to gain by knowing this science? Well, happy, harmonious human living, as already said, is the most basic thing. Next, I want to experience my inner freedom amidst whatever the diverse set of circumstances of extreme joy or extreme grief. I want to have my inner freedom, realization of my inner potentials. It is well said that each one of us has the equal potentials as were manifested in Lord Ram or Krishna or Mahavir or Dada Bhagwan or whomsoever you believe as an idol. So what is the science? What are the fundamentals and practices which can bring out these inner potentials? And it is well said that each one of us is a latent but potent absolute. Each one of us, by real point of view, is latent but potent absolute. So as a student of science, I want to find out what's the methodology to achieve this. So ultimate truth and of course the ultimate goal of liberation, if at all we are searching for it. So Vitarag Vignan or Akram Vignan as holistic science of today, which we'll see what it means, in present times, it was revealed by self-realized holistic scientist Sri Dada Bhagwan, who had enlightenment naturally while sitting on a bench in platform of Surat station in 1958. Presently, it is being continued further by self-realized Gnani Purush Sri Kanu Dadaji, who was blessed with self-realization in 1963. But what is more important is, it is being pursued and experienced by hundreds of aspirants, out of which we can claim that we are few, most humbly, if not to overstate it. And still more important, science is only one which can be replicated by many more people, by all, following the same fundamentals. So it can be experienced by all who have open-hearted, earnest inquisitiveness. So before going into practical applications and details of the science, let me briefly state the unique aspects and contributions, because I know this is an academic institute and there will be so many scholars who will like to know what are the unique contributions or aspects of this science. Well, it is very easy, practical, most importantly result giving. It is said that there are n number of books and there is vast ocean on internet and everything, books and books. But unless it quenches my thirst, all the water in ocean is useless for me. I need only a small half a glass of water, so it should be result giving. It does not ask for rituals, traditions, hard penances, or so-called outer renunciations. Then what does it ask for? It asks for only correct understanding or right visions. So it's very simple. Students of science will know that everything is very difficult, almost impossible, so long as you don't know the correctness or the correct methodology. No sooner you know the correct thing, it is as simple. Left hand play. The result has to occur. So what is needed is only correct understanding or right visions about my own human life experiment. It is holistic. Holistic in which sense? Not only it includes everything, but it is beneficial, useful and applicable to one and all, irrespective of not only caste, color, creed, irrespective of faiths, religions, whether one believes or not, irrespective of socio-economic status and irrespective of literary status. Somebody may be a SSC fail, even a sweeper, it benefits, and somebody may be double PhD or guiding the PhDs. So it is holistic for one and all. And now let's come to some specific points. To my best of knowledge, there is a huge mystery going on about fate and free will, prarabdha and purusharth, which is really the portion of fate, which is really the portion of free will, which is really the prarabdha, really the purusharth. This science very clearly, categorically draws the line of two. For the first time, Dada Bhagwan has brought out the science of scientific circumstantial evidences, which he colloquially termed as Vyavasthit Shakti, as the regulator or the governance of all happenings, including my life and universe as a whole. Continuing further, Pratisthit Atman. This was for the first time I came across. Dada Bhagwan said, which is the foundation or pivot for the whole world going on, including my own being and living. It is the Pratisthit Atman, which is known as belief soul or migratory soul. Dr. Bhatt Sahib is supposed to explain it more, but very briefly to explain, the pure soul is totally different, and in presence of pure soul, it is an engrammed statue. It is a charged robo-like thing. It's a charged non-live, live matter-like thing, which is running the show of me as well as universe. So it's a very beautiful concept, the Pratisthit Atman, if it is understood, whole mystery of the universe, including my own living, is resolved. So science of relative inner self, Antaskaran, lot of things and researches are going on to understand about mind. And still there are a lot of unanswered questions. If the time permits, I'll go into detail, but science of mind, reflective consciousness, that is chitta, intellect, whether perverted or righteous, and ego has been very nicely brought out. Science of speech has been nicely brought out. Holistic science of nature and human living. Nature is nothing but operative within me as well as operative surrounding me. Right now, my nature is inner ecology as well as we all sitting here in the whole, and this atmosphere and vibrations and ambience is itself a first nature. The nature outside is the secondary nature. And a metric fail person comes out with a unique marvel. The world is the puzzle itself. Then what is the solution? There are two viewpoints to solve this puzzle. One relative, the other real, and still more important, it is not Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Jagat is not Mithya. Jagat is relative truth. So both relative and real are important, has to go hand in hand, has to go parallel like two wings of a bird. Then only you can achieve the best in real. So let us ask ourselves few questions before I progress on to my journey of detailing the science. What is the purpose or aim of my life? Time is short, so I am not asking you. You ask yourself whether you have already decided or still undecided. What is the purpose or aim of my life? Am I living life meaningfully or appropriately? At the fag end of the day, when in ICU, we should not be asking ourselves whether I have lived meaningfully or appropriately. Am I living a life or is it being lived? This may look a funny question. Living means active, in my hand, Purusharth. Being lived means forced by something passive. What is in my realm and what is not? What all can I do independently and what all can I not do independently? Ultimately, who am I? And the subtle science of charge and discharge, cause and effect. What is the subtle process by which the karmas are being invited or new bondages are created and the karmas are being dissipated or discharged? And that has the key to liberation too. How the world is being regulated. Mind control. Can mind be controlled? And if yes, how? Which way? How best? Meditation, yoga, lot of things going on around each of these words. I would say each of these words can coin full day seminar or more than that. And the correct way of my inner journey. So friends, with that, let me come back to my own daily living. And we start with simple thing like happiness. If asked, what is all we are looking for, whether in Mumbai or Vadodara or village or internationally anywhere, the answer would be one word: happiness. Now, the Gnani Purush has made so many marvelous observations. outer comforts and inner happiness has to be balanced like the two palms of a pointer. If the outer happiness is very high, something like all we are having right now with the progress of outer science, but if inner happiness is meager or scanty, I will have to take sleeping pills or psychiatric medicines or may have to go to bar or pub or whatever it is. So inner happiness is much more vital, or if not much more, at least equally important as compared to outer comforts. The next question is, then how does the inner happiness come? Is it in abundance of the things? If it would have been so, we all should have always freely smiling, because we all have more than required. Our wardrobes are full. We don't know how many saris and things are lying there. We have surplus car. We have 2 fridges, one lying in the garage. But still our faces are full of tensions, and we have to forcibly smile when somebody takes the photograph. So how the happiness comes? Suppose Upadhyay Sahib and Parikh Sahib decided to hold the seminar month back. Ask them. From the same moment, they would have started feeling happy. Why to go to such a big thing? Suppose you have a birthday of your grandson coming after 15 days. You have yet not declared to anybody, just you decide in your mind that, okay, we'll hold this small birthday, we'll get few kids, friends, and distribute few chocolates or small party. Even before you declare, even before you spend a rupee from your pocket, we start feeling happy. Suppose in whatever walk of life I am, I decided, okay, I'll help somebody, be it my patient, be it my colleague or somebody. Before really I go out and help, I start feeling happy. What is the science? And is it different for anybody? No, it is universally same. So what is the science? Whatever actions of my mind, body, speech, which are going to make others happy, will make me happy first. So I'm not really helping out other fellow. I am helping myself first before obliging others. I am being obliged first. This is only a small thing. It doesn't require any elaborate apparatuses. It doesn't require any elaborate researches. Just look within with right perspective and you will get the answers. And contrary to that, suppose somebody tells that on Saturday you had gone to Mumbai seminar and your staff was playing all the nuisances in your absence. So my mind starts revolving, let me go Monday and I'll take them to task. They are enjoying. What will happen to me? I will be taken to task. So before hurting anybody, whatever actions, even at the level of mind, minute vibration will hurt me first. So having understood this simple rule, each action of my mind, body, speech affects me first positively or negatively. What should I do? I should resolve in the morning that if I want to become happy, let my mind, body, speech not hurt any living being in the world, and let my mind, body, speech make one and all happy. So, friends, have you seen happiness shop anywhere? There are so many malls and departmental stores and one after another. Have you anywhere come across the happiness shop? And suppose you have a shop of sweets, would you be any time shortage of sweets? No. So if I happen to open the happiness shop, I'll be never be in shortage of happiness. How to open it? What would be the inventory? Nothing except my mind, body, speech. And it is my inner attitude, inner resolution, inner inclination to do so. Rest of the work would be done by nature. I am not required to do. So Mahavir said, yoga upyoga paropakarai. And again, believe me, there is no par in the universe or the world. In worldly language, I am doing paropkar. In real language, I am doing self-upkar on my own self. So looked from this perspective, world is no other but me only. Me and my projection is my world, and I am doing for my own self, for nobody else. So the concept of main product and byproduct, what is the main product? It depends on my inner intent. It doesn't depend on my actions. 3 doctors may be doing the surgery same way. One has the inner intent of collecting as many money as can be done in earliest fashion. One may have the inner intent of helping out, soothing the miseries of the people. and the result would be different in nature. So in any walk of life, whatever you are, including you may be housewife, you may be anything. If this vision is there that let my main product be to help somebody, to soothe somebody. Once upon a time, two young people from bank came to me to take my accounts in their banks. So I smilingly said, what extra can you offer? All banks are going to offer the same. You don't have any power to favor me. And they were just smiling. They said, sir, we'll be happy to have you with us. We have smile and we have heart to serve you. And I transferred my all accounts to that bank. So if I look at the opportunity of interacting the people as obliging them and not really obliging them, but obliging myself and seeing the God in them, believe me, at the end of 8 or 12 hours of the day, I'll not be fatigued, but I'll be full of self-satisfaction and fully charged of the energy. My workplace would be my temple. But what is the routine scenario nowadays? This is a Mahalakshmi race course. So we are all, by and large, in comparison and competition. I have a school with 800 students. Somebody has a school with 2,000. Let me reach to the 2,000. And now when I reach 2,000, let me to the 5,000. So always trying to compare and compete. It is the mind and ego which is doing this, and it's the race course. But Dadaji said in race course, only one horse gets number one. Rest all are breathless, and number one has always tension when the others will surpass me. So, if you can remove these two words, you will be really happy. Then the question comes, how to progress in the world without competition? By natural and normal living. Does a rose flower blossom by competition? Does a nice hapus mango come by competition? No. It is natural and normal being of yourself. So Dadaji said, above normal is fever, below normal is fever, normality is the essence of life. I know that each sentence is going to provoke so many questions in your mind, but for the very reason I am here, because I can just show you the fundamental principles, and I'll stimulate your research inside to seek the questions. Enjoy whatever is available and in front, and don't worry for one which is not available. There is a nice dish in front of me, but I go to office, I go to my factory, and after a while somebody asks my spouse, did you enjoy food? It was nice. I don't know what I have because I was not here. So we are guests of nature. A word about relative happiness and real happiness. Relative happiness is one which comes from circumstances. As long as the things are favorable, I am happy. Even if there is one circumstances goes unfavorable, I become unhappy. Suppose we are all here and all the fan goes off and we are steaming with hot, we become unfavorable. Why so? Husband and wife living cordially, harmoniously, and both feel, oh, house is heaven. One mood of one person goes haywire. So it is dependent on circumstances. Now suppose all the circumstances are given as per our desire, still there would be something more missing inside because it is a relative happiness and the thirst will not be quenched. As against that, there is a real happiness which is independent of circumstances, which is always constant, but which comes only after I know who am I. So long as I am name bearer, I'll be always in relative happiness. So, knowing these some principles, now if I ask myself whether I know my self-interest well, everybody of you will say, we Bombaikars are very smart and we know our self-interest very well. I also have to agree to it, but Gnani Purush has something different to say. As we have already seen, each action of our mind, body, speech as an internal reflection, world is our own echo. People believe that echo goes out. I say Uttam Bhai is a nice person, then Uttam Bhai says you are a very good person. No. Before that, there is inner echo. No sooner I decide to say him a nice person, there is inner echo. No sooner I decide to say him you are stupid, there is inner echo. Then the outer echo comes afterwards. Mistakes are our boss. As a businessman, I tried to avoid income tax, sale tax, VAT tax and whatnot. And then once upon a time, an income tax officer came and he sent his card inside, asked my staff that, tell your doctor that so-and-so has come from income tax department. Before he comes, I was perspiring. whether he has come for search, whether he has come for raid. Then he came inside, sir, my eye has certain trouble. Oh, I was released. So it's not income tax officer who is my boss, it's my mistake who is my boss. If I would not have done mistakes, there would not be any boss. So Gnani Purush says your own blunders and your own mistakes are your boss. There is no boss up and above. You are your own boss if you have no mistakes. Now, dishonesty is best foolishness. Honesty is best policy has gone down the drain so long back. Now dishonesty is the best foolishness. How? Why? If I look inside as a student of science, no sooner I try to fool somebody, no sooner I try to tell a lie, watch within, inner conflicts start. My pulse rate becomes fast, my respiration becomes fast, sometimes my blood pressure shoots off, and these are the things based on which they have prepared the lie detectors and brain mapping equipments. If the instrument can measure my gross effects, what must be the subtle effects? And once the other people know, the loss of trust and so many things, they are subsequent. But right at this moment, dishonesty becomes foolishness for me. One who deceives is being deceived first, rather before deceiving others. So morality and sincerity, these are the two twin pillars on which the humanity is standing. But today, these two pillars are corroded to the most. And going further in the part of self-interest, I should try to decide what is in my self-interest, if I love others or if I hate others. If I try to take revenge tit for tat, or if I try to forgive them. What's in my self-interest? And whether anger, greed, pride, allurement, are they my good friends or are they my enemies in the pretext of friends? So self, one who can win the self has won everything. Lord Mahavir just tried to win his own self and the whole universe was won by him. He never went out like Sikandar to win the outside. He went in to win himself. Universe is within. Pinde so Brahmande. One who has researched the universe within, relative and real, has researched everything worthwhile. Self-management, one who knows how to manage the self best, effortlessly can manage the others. We have big paid seminars for teaching by management gurus who try to teach us how to manage the others. But believe me, it is just the surface, unless one knows how to manage oneself in any given situation. So, should I try to improve others or try to improve my own self? Nobody can improve the others really unless one improves one's own self. So, let's come to holistic visions for daily living. I know I'm taking a little bit more time on day-to-day aspects, but Dadaji categorically said, you are pardoned if you don't know scriptures of Atmagnan, but you must know the art of day-to-day living well before embarking on to doing PhDs of the Atmagnan Shastras. So avoid clashes. What happens if there is any clash by word or by eye or at the level of mind or opinion? First, my inner harmony is disturbed, negativity creeps in, my energy level goes down and whatnot. So no sooner I decide to avoid clashes, the inner resolving light shows me the way out. Believe me, it is not surrendering to the things, it is resolution of the things, common sense. There is no definition of common sense. I tried to, but Dadaji gave a unique definition of common sense. It is the common understanding which is applicable theoretically as well as practically under all type of situations, which will avert clashes, which will resolve issues without mind breaking apart. Now we have to find out how much common sense I have. Now, what is the usual cause of clashes? I believe that I am right. I try to persuade the others that I am right. And if it doesn't work, I insist, I embark, I become dogmatic that I am right, which automatically implies you are wrong. But have I paused and thought? Somebody like Uttam Bhai will say, yeah, you are right. But he or she can be right by his or her own viewpoint. So Lord Mahavir said that everybody may be right by his or her own viewpoints. And resolutions and counter-bully, sometimes I was frustrated, I instruct my staff, and then after a while I expect the response, and I get frustrated, why they are not understanding? But then I realized hard way, my thinking speed, my resolving and comprehension speed is 5,000 revolutions per minute. How can I expect that from my staff? He has a 500. So I have to come down, use the counter-pulley, otherwise one of the two will be fractured. So resolve the situations you face amicably with equanimity. Second, golden key is adjust everywhere. Today, the biggest problem we have is of disadjustments with different personalities, starting right at home, at workplace, in friend circles, in social groups. So how to adjust? One simple vision. Do you like garden or do you like farms? Everybody likes gardens, right? Now when we go to gardens, each plant or tree is a different, isn't it that? We deliberately put all different varieties together. None is similar, but none is without fruit or a flower. And does one quarrel with the other? Same thing today in a family. In previous times, there were farms in a family. That means there were similar personalities in a family. In present time, there are gardens in a family. That means personality of one is different from the personality of other and personality of third, so much so that we have observed that the husband wants thermostat of AC at 27 and the wife has to wear the blanket because the wife feels chilly into that. So family is a garden, but each human being has its own fruits or flowers, means positive virtues. So one should know, try to find out what one is good at, and one should never grumble about one doesn't know. If I go to a rose plant and ask for a mango, what would a rose do? Rose would laugh at me. And if I go to rose and complain about thorn, again rose would laugh at me, use my flower and keep away from the thorn because it's a natural occurrence. So home. Home is my biggest laboratory, my biggest experiment place inside me and a family I'm living. Win your own home, world need not be conquered. A clash-free home is a temple of God. A home with good mutual dealings, even if it is a small jhupada hut, looks nice, but a big flat on a pedal road, if it is not having a good mutual dealings, appear like a crematorial land or a cremation house. So husband and wife, most important, pious relation, what should it be? Best friends. But how do the best friends will remain? Here two I remain separate. The body marry, but two I do not marry. And as long as the two I are friendly, cordial, sharing and caring for each other, the situation is win-win. But when one eye tries to win over the other, it is the show. So Dadaji said that we always use the words we or ours, and we never use the word I or you, mine and yours. And in a subtler sense, because of the karmic bonds, the two have come together. Live in such a way that the older karmic bonds get dissipated and you don't invite the new ties. Parents, children, even they have a small, nice family. Glass, handle with care. The mind of children are like glass, handle with care. Children seek love. Love not in terms of what the world speaks. The correct definition is love is one which is without expectations and without conditions. And that's why it is not waxing and waning. Beliefs and psychological effects. The whole life is nothing but bundle of beliefs. All the experiences, they are not based on the events occurring. They are based on my beliefs in those particular events. Somebody likes a flat, somebody bungalow, and somebody hut. A hut people if put into a flat will become a miserable. So life is nothing but a bundle of beliefs and psychological effects. I'll not go into the details of the examples, only one funny example. A male sees a female. At the present moment, both are unknown to each other. There is no belief. But no sooner the engagement ring is changed, the belief starts. She is my wife or he is my husband. And all the round, the beliefs turns are being wound and wound and wound. So if one of the two departs, the other becomes very, very miserable. But if one of the two takes diverse, for a short time becomes miserable, then the belief change is no more my wife. But the belief about the state of being, who am I, is really a very, very important, which will come a little later on. Having understood the few things, my visions would become positive. What is a positive vision? Is it something against negative? No. Positive means correct or exact, in line of my human experiment, in nature, in natural rules and regulations. If my vision becomes exact and correct, what happens? Do the circumstances make me happy or unhappy? No. It is my vision of looking at the circumstances. Suppose if this my glasses are not correct number. If I go, the world is hazy. Somebody will guide me, hey, why are you wandering? Go to an ophthalmologist. He will set your number right, or you will remove the cataract, world will become beautiful. So it is the vision of looking at the circumstances which works as a software in the computer hardware. Mahavir lived for 72, Dada Bhagwan lived for 80. We will probably live for 120 or 150 because the science is trying to find out the gene to extend our life. But hardware will live long. What about software? Mahavir is being remembered after 2600 years. What was different? Software of beliefs was and vision was different. Once upon a time, Dadaji got a fractured hip, neck, femur at the age of 76. Imagine any one of us in such a situation, what we would do. And each time, knowingly or unknowingly, it will add to burden and misery on our mind. What would have been Dada? On the next moment, it has started uniting. Is it wrong? It is medically also correct. So we say, I got fever. Dadaji says fever was there since long, now it is going because it's a curative mechanism of body. I came yesterday from Vadodara. Now if I say, oh, I traveled whole night and I came, then I'll be fatigued. But if I say, oh, I had a reservation, I just slept nicely and the train came to Mumbai, I'll have no fatigue on my mind. Simple change of vision will change your experiences like anything. Difficulties in life really help us to develop your inner energies from within to make you mature, so love them. Lord Mahavir always taught his disciples, see what is left with you, don't cry over what has gone from you. And now, coming to little subtler aspects, human life, a unique live experiment. And whenever I say experiment, it implies that experiment and experimenter both has to be separate. So what is the experiment here? My mind, body, speech and process is going on within in connection to everything outside. Animate and inanimate is experiment going on, and I am, me, is there as an experimenter. So let us understand how this experiment is going on. Living as, first I'll focus on the situation of experimenter, living as I am name bearer and I am doer, into which the whole world by and large is. Now, there are two parts of life. One is the part of happenings. Now, I ask you a question, or let us ask ourselves a question. What all can I do independently? And what all can I not do independently? What is in our realm? Are we independent doer? Suppose, if we are asked that we all came here, so simple answer would be, okay, we are independent because we wanted, we come here. Is that true? Yes or no? Yes. But if we go into little subtler depths, suppose if I was supposed to come here, but my mother all of a sudden becomes serious, I would have to call a regret call to Parikh Sahib, sorry Parikh Sahib, my mother is so serious I can't come. Or I myself would have fallen ill. There would be so many of you who would call Upadhyay Sahib or Parikh Sahib, sorry, we wanted to come really, but something, circumstances happened and we could not come. If you look closely, each happenings of the life needs so many circumstantial evidences to come together, not only outside, inside, outside of the present, past, present and future. Even a single circumstance is lacking, the thing doesn't happen. I say I did a nice surgery, so long as my patient praises me and gets good results. But suppose somebody gets complication, what would I say? Oh, I tried my best, what can I do? Your body was so, your body responded differently, then I'll ascribe on to circumstances. So I have dual language. So Gnani Purush says that these happenings outside needs so many circumstantial evidences. Are they all in our total independent control? Have you ever thought that we sleep at night having nice meal? Who does all the inner body processes? Who makes the heart to beat? Who makes the process of digestion? Even if for few seconds the heart slips, doesn't beat, what will happen? Are we doer? Leave aside. If I go inside, am I independent about my mind? What is your answer? Partly yes, partly no, right? But it cannot be that way. If I am independent about my mind, mind should not harass me. It should not show me the unwanted thoughts, and it should not sometimes take away my sleep. Am I independent about my speech? Appears to be yes. But so many times it happens, I have decided to speak like this. I go, something else comes out, and sometimes I regret also that, oh, I should not have spoken like that. So here Krishna said, here Mahavir said, here everybody says that this Prakriti, including gross mind, speech, and body as inner circumstances, and the outer circumstances accumulated by nature, there we are not totally independent, but we are instrumental doer, and it happens as per the scientific circumstantial evidences coming together. Then my next question is, then where is my independence? And what I am supposed to do in my life? Because only where I am independent, I can exercise my free will part. Wherever I am dependent, we can say it is a prarabdha. Believe me, I am not meaning prarabdha means destined or predecided. No. I am only meaning that I am doer, I am trying my best, but there is interplay of so many circumstances. Whereas free will is the part, whereas it is independent of circumstances. So what is that part? My inner decision, my projection, or my bhav is my free will part. We all 200 people are sitting here. Would you believe that everybody's inner decision would be same when they walk out of the seminar at the end of the day? No. Actions or results are same. Inner decisions would be different for everybody. Somebody would have inner decision, let me go into depth and know the science and experience. Somebody will have inner decision, no, I would not come second time. So what is happening inside, depending on my understanding, living as I am, is my part of inner decision or free will. This is a very subtle science, but very important, and here lies the subtle crux of the Krishna saying, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Everybody understood karma by activities, by outer actions seen and done by five senses. No, it is the secondary karma done by Prakriti based on the previous bhav. The main karma, adhikar, independence, is being done within in the form of inner bhav. Suppose I do not have resources, I cannot give out money to somebody even if I wanted, but I can certainly have the bhav, okay, if I would have, I would certainly give more, something like that. So how does the natural regulatory system work? When I was young, I will have one drawing, okay, I want one wife, then I'll have another bhav, she should be educated. Oh, it's all right, she should be less educated, but she should be obedient. And then I'll have another feeling, she should be beautiful, or my father-in-law should be rich, whatever, XYZ. So this, whatever drawing are occurring inside me is a planning where I am there involved, is my planning blueprint. I'm feeding data in my own individual computer, not seen by anybody else, but that is being fed to nature's computer. Now, what does the natural regulatory system, which works like a vast cosmic computer-like system, does? Nature says, wait, time is not ripe. You have to be 22, 23, 24 to get the result. And at that time, nature will give me so many circumstantial evidences, and a wife would be given at that time. But the result doesn't come like that. It comes in a scientific way. So I'm not given only wife, even though I have asked only wife. I'm given father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, everything, right? So similarly, my bhav and whatever I'm getting in the form of happenings or circumstances is being given by the natural system, but not independently. Nature is not independent or free to give me results. It gives me the results based on my fed data. Now it is giving me the results. So it's the organized, orderly system of results or effects. Creation is done by humans, living as I am name bearer. Disposal is done by natural regulatory system. Even inspiration comes from that system based on the previous data. When I cleared my qualifying examination of preparatory science, I was getting admission everywhere, and my father told, you better become CA beta. Somebody from within drove me to become a doctor, and I am now finding who drove me. Today, if I would have to make decision, I would have been a chartered accountant. So in happenings, what should we do? Do your efforts, drive your car with open eyes, do everything with best of care, caution, and best of ability, but leave rest to nature, and after the result comes, say only this much, whatever has happened is just and correct. Krishna Bhagavan wanted only this much to understand in Gita, that whatever has happened after happening, not before happening, that whatever has happened is just and correct, because it is based on natural regulatory system. In worldly courts, there can be injustice, but in this natural system, not for a fraction of a second, not for an atom or molecule, there is injustice. So do not incur double loss within. One loss is inevitable, whatever has happened. But not knowing these truths and facts, do not suffer the after effects. So science of behavior, Dadaji said the whole world is trying to change the behavior. All preachers, teachers, preachers do this, don't do that. I also want to do that, but I get frustrated because I may or may not be able to change my behavior. So what is the truth? What is the simple scientific path? Dadaji says, I do not ask anybody to forcibly change the behavior, but I want you to change your understanding, which is very easy. Once the understanding is changed, your inner opinion, inner decision, inner resolution or bhav will be automatically changed, and that will result in a future behavior change. So you cannot change the fruits or effects, you can change the cause or seeds which is happening inside. Present Prakriti is the behavior or the result of the previous thing. And that's why Duryodhan had to say, Janami dharmam nachame pravrutti, janami adharmam nachame nivrutti. So understanding would readily do that, and this science wants you just to understand the things correctly. So two bhavnas or resolves. One I have already said in the morning, let my mind, body, speech not hurt any living being, or let my mind, body, speech make one and all happy. And my second bhavna for real happiness is to know who am I. What is my perpetual self? What are its properties? If I know that, I will be on the path to permanent happiness and also on the liberation. So this is my second bhavna. Then it is supported by 9 codes of conduct as bhavnas. I am not going into detail. There is a small booklet in your seminar kit in Introduction to Holistic Vision and Integrated Living, and there it has been listed. So I'm just deliberately leaving that part. Pratikraman also I'm leaving. And now I come to still more subtle aspect of this science. Third aspect. So we have touched the Vyavhar Vignan, we have touched the Prarabdha Purusharth or free will part. Now we come to know, and as I said, as I am name bearer and I am doer, experimenter was different. I want to get to the permanent happiness. So Dadaji says only single sentence, separate I and my. I say my mind. I don't say I am mind. I say my intellect. I say my egoism. I say my husband, my feelings. Everything my. So if I put aside portion of my, what remains? Nothing or something? Something remains. I remains, right? Second thing, whatever is happening in the part of my, has it got beginning and end or no? We met, it began at 2:20, it will end at 8 o'clock. So it is known as Sanjog, which also has inherent Viyog into that. And the biggest Sanjog is my own body, from conception to crematorial house. So this portion of my has beginning or end, that means it is temporary. So who knows that it is having beginning or end has to be permanent. So I has to be permanent or perpetual, then and then only it can know that the my is temporary or changing. So portion of my is ever changing, whereas portion of I is never changing. Portion of I is having beginning and end, portion of I is not having any beginning and end. And furthermore, who is suffering or experiencing? Sometimes we say, I had a very nice sleep. So who slept and who knew? When you walk out, you will say, oh, I enjoyed or I'm bored. So which is the part which enjoyed or bored? And which is the part who knew, who enjoyed or who get bored? Out of ignorance, both are appearing as one. Gnani Purush says, knower and doer cannot be same. Doer and knower has to be separate all the time. So separate I and my with Gnani separator. So what is the science of I and my? If I go into the depths of scientific facts, the properties of my and property of I, here I have a small graphic. On one side I have shown the pure soul, another side is matter. Pure soul is the portion of I, matter is the portion of, including the extra special properties is the portion of my. None of the property of my, that is the part of Prakriti, is there in I or pure conscious. None of the property of pure conscious is there in the Prakriti or part of my. Both are totally separate. Scientifically, what is happening? There are elements in the science, and elements has to have its existence, existential matter, innate properties, and functionality. So pure conscious or pure soul has its existential matter, its own innate properties and its functionality. Matter also has its form, shape, color, taste, something. What happens as the two come together? The third extra properties do get generated. As in a science, when you bring two elements together, the third properties get generated, which are neither the inherent property of each. So here, the extra special properties, it is the human being or human Prakriti, which is I am knower, I am name bearer, I am doer, anger, pride, deceit, attachment, everything is neither the property of pure soul, neither the property of matter. They have come as extra special properties as the two things have come together. The holistic scientist knows this very well and also knows how this is operative and also knows how it can be separated in everybody's best interest. This is where the subtle science lies. So another graphics, pure soul, having its existential matter, which is formless, shapeless, but it is certainly there in the form of Chaitanya with its own innate properties, innumerous properties, but three main properties: knowing power or knowledge light, seeing power or perception or vision ability, and bliss. These are the three characteristics which are predominant, which can separate it from all the relative. Matter also having its existential matter with innate properties and attributes. There is no change in the existential matter or innate properties of either of them, only the phases are changing, and that's the whole universe all about. So if I summarize the complete picture of life, so long as I'm Shailesh and I am doer, I have all the extra degrees. I'm ophthalmologist, I'm somebody's son, I'm somebody's father, I'm somebody's brother and whatnot, I'm doer of this and doer of that. What is happening? I am doing two things. My mind, body, speech are the three charge batteries which I have brought based on my previous bhavs or projections, which is giving me the results coupled with the natural regulatory system and is going off or getting dissipated. At the same time, I am charging three new more batteries in that builds up the new causal body. Actually, whenever the inner bhavs are being done, whether to help anybody or whether to hurt anybody, the outside atoms and molecules are getting attracted in, and they collectively form the causal body, which is being taken with the pure soul when we go to the new body. And based on that causal body, this gross body, mind, body, speech, atoms and molecules are being generated. So this process of charge and discharge continues so long as my wire is in, that is, so long as I am having egoism. Which type of egoism? So long as I am having egoism that I am name bearer and I am doer. But once with the grace of Gnani Purush, if I am separate as an experimenter, that no, I am pure soul self, I am knower and doer, I am knower and seer, and I am not the doer, doer is natural regulatory system, then the discharge continues, the charge stops. That's the point where inner bliss starts, and that's the point where I am not inviting new karmic bondages, or I am on the path of liberation. So what happens in the process of self-realization or initiation? It is not by words, but by experience. If it would have been by words, everybody studying and scholars of Gita or Ved or Agam would have already done it. But believe me, 4 Veds at the end has to say Neti, Neti. I'll take only 5 minutes. I'm having my watch here. And in good times, it was being possible by kram, means step-by-step path. But in present times, even for a genuine seeker, it is very difficult to understand the core or essence of these subtle truths, even if one is trying to achieve it through Gita or Vedas or Agams, and it is still more difficult to achieve the results. In Gita, Krishna Bhagavan said, Kam se krodh hai, krodh se buddhinash hai, buddhinash se sarvanash hai. Now my question is how to curtail Kam. How can I achieve the result? Krishna said, one who sees me in everybody will get me. How to see Krishna in everybody? One is my house servant, one is my boss. So that's the answer here, how to achieve the results. So in present time, why are we not succeeding in step-by-step way? Because there is disparity of mind, speech and body. I speak differently than what I think, and I behave differently than what I speak. So my mind, body, speech instrument has not remained harmonious. So in present time, it is coming through akram or stepless path, that is the path of grace. Today, it is being achievable by grace. What type of grace? From where? How? And what is the difference between kram and akram? As I said, the kram goes from out to in, outer purification to inside. Akram, by grace, you are given the experience or initiation of the self. So inner purification happens first, and subsequently the outer purification happens effortlessly. So after initiation, wrong belief that I am Shailesh, name bearer, and I am doer is fractured, and right belief that I am pure soul self sets in. So long as I was Bahir Mukh Atma, my all reflective consciousness was wandering outside. With this, I become Antaratma. My vrittis start moving to my own pure self or own home, and my journey towards Paramatma state, supreme pure self starts. So long as doership and ownership beliefs are there, one has not realized the pure self. And as I said, the wrong beliefs, I am name bearer and I am doer, are the basic pivots for the new karmic bonds. Prajna Shakti, enlightened wisdom, is created as soon as one is initiated by grace. That Prajna Shakti makes this science a self-functional science. Effortlessly, it is our experience through last 34 years, if I don't overstate. Whenever needed, light of Prajna comes from within, it warns me, it gives me the correct vision and leads me to the resolution and correct experience. And 5 simple percepts. First, to our divine vision of relative and real. By relative viewpoint, we are all what we are. Somebody is my father, somebody is my brother, somebody is my son. But by real viewpoint, I am pure soul, everybody is pure soul. This is the 2 vision which Krishna gave as divine vision to Arjuna. These are the 2 nyais, Nai, Vyavhar Nai and Nischay Nai, which Mahavir wants to give us to progress onto path of liberation. Same thing, very much the same thing, has been given as a continuing experience to many by Dada Bhagavan. Third is the Vyavasthit Shakti or scientific circumstantial evidences which can make us free of doership beliefs. Fourth, percept is settle all your interconnected, interrelational accounts, relational or whatever, whomsoever I come across, including my patients or everything. Settle the accounts amicably with equanimity. And fifth is, please try to open a new account in a new bank. Which is that bank? Is a universal bank, and which is the account? It is the account of pure soul self. All the accounts at the present moment are on the name of name bearer, and they are all the relative accounts. The account on the pure self is the real. And I believe and I experience that nothing in the universe is out of ambit of these five percepts. Dadaji went ahead and said that even without initiation or grace, even at the level of righteous intellect, one tries to understand these five fundamental precepts, one can progress a lot and the things can become very simple. So yoga, people have been trying at the level of body, speech and mind. These are good steps, but ultimate aim is to achieve the Atma Yoga. And if you have been fortunate to achieve the Atma Yoga, the steps may or may not be necessary. So I'm leaving here. I'm not going into details of mind and egoism. You can pose me the questions in the panel, but I'll be leaving my duty halfway if I don't mention about the Gnani Purush. Because whose grace? Who is that holistic scientist who has put me into this experience? So Gnani Purush. So who is Gnani? Gnani means a knowledgeable. But relative and real, there are so many strata and spheres. Here, what we are referring to as Gnani is one who knows the self and non-self, relative self and real self thoroughly well by experience, whose experience of the pure soul self has been stabilized for all the time, who is living like us, appearing like us, but from within, whose all mindness belief, from mind, body, speech has totally vanished, whose all egoism, doership belief has totally gone, and because of such a state of pure self being from within, his body just becomes instrumental in the grand scheme of Mother Nature for all the inquisitiveness, for all those who are inquisitive, and to pass on this experience or to get initiated. And he can be a neutral illuminator of all faiths or beliefs or areas of life. And as I said, Akram or stepless, first picture is of A.M. Patel. It is not the picture of Dada Bhagwan. Dada Bhagwan cannot be photographed because Dada Bhagwan cannot be burned to ashes on the sandalwood. Whereas this revered gentleman was put on sandalwood ashes in 1988 by all of us with tears in the eyes. So it's the temple of Gnani Purush. Dada Bhagwan was there inside as an opened out absolute pure knowledge light, as an opened out absolute pure knowledge light with infinite bliss. That very much Dada Bhagwan, that very much Krishna, that very much Lord Mahavir is exactly elementally same within each one of us, within each one of you. Only thing here, it was recognized and uncovered. We have to recognize and we have to find the experiment by which we can unravel. And in the present time, Sri Kanu Dadaji, his body temple is existing by nature's grace, and through him, the inner Dada Bhagwan's grace, which is a state of being, it is not a personal state. Anybody can be Dada Bhagwan if one attains that state, is functional for the aspirants who want to try, test and experience that. So I'm leaving my talk half here, and I think I have covered at least the core part. There are so many more things. The ocean is very vast, but I better leave it here. Jai Sachidanand. Thank you. Namaskar. And we have 10 minutes left for question answers right now, and we have more time in the panel, and we have all the time for the subsequent days to come.
Anybody who want to pose a question can raise the hand and put the question.
Mics will be passed on to the people who saw
in the
this.
front row.
So it is a very beautiful presentation. Now the real hurdle comes if I am investigating scientifically. I need a pure observation. Now here, my conditioning is so deep in terms of conscious, subconscious and unconscious that in spite of intellect understanding all this wisdom and appreciating it, but the programming within me is so strong that the doer comes up all the time. The experience and the experiencer remain separate because I am operating from the past. And any pure observation requires that you should have freedom from the past, so that every moment is fresh and every impression is new. So with the mind, which is so deeply conditioned, how will it unravel this?
An excellent question, really an excellent question. In a short time, I'll try to answer it very shortly. It's absolutely perfect experience. Here, two things come. Number one, suppose I am not yet fortunate, I am not yet inquisitiveness to be graced directly by somebody who is totally in a state of being, who is free of conditions. If I am fortunate, then believe me, by grace, he can put you in a state where you can get out. Now, here what is important is two parts. Mind is also, there are two minds. One is discharge mind, Dravyaman or Sthulaman, which is carrying past conditioning and is getting disposed of, which shows me the photographs or pamphlets. At the same time, my present understanding is working to say it whether I mix with it or whether I don't mix with it. Suppose my mind is showing me something, but my present knowledge says me, no, I don't want to enter into that. That freedom I do have, that is known as vivek or discretionary power. So there, with the understanding, even if I am not blessed or graced by self-initiation, I can exercise these understandings, start experiencing it. So this is the very reason Dadaji said, I don't want you to change your anything. This is not the path to change. Just understand. Understanding will change your inner state of being, and this is your inner state of being, which now looks at the happenings in the mind, body, speech. So the observer becomes neutral and observes what? One's own relative self, subtle self, not only mind, but mind, reflective consciousness, intellect and ego functioning also, and tries to derive the truths. But if I am not content with this much, and for that, as I showed, the simple path is very simple, 2 bhavanas, 9 code of conducts, 5 satsadhans, very simple, and some simple understanding. Once this is initiation, this just provokes you. Once, if you are interested, you spend some time and the understanding will be at your heart, because it is backed by Vachanabala of Gnani Purush. It is backed by state of existence of Gnani Purush. I am not able to exercise on my own. A cataract patient cannot operate one's own self. He has to go to a doctor and say, doctor, please, your art and get me right. So with this humility, only 2 things are required. Utmost humility and I know nothing. Gnani Purush works, even in relative understanding part. And if you are keen, have the bhavana. I want to be blessed and graced to know who am I. Once I know who am I, believe me, from 25 November 1977, when I was first blessed, the experience is ever mounting. Shailesh does have the effects based on the past conditioning. I try to remain as the knower and seer. Not only that, but enlightened wisdom or prajna resolves Shailesh's effects and makes it right in present day light. Very small example. In 1994, we lost daughter of my brother, who is comparing Manesh Bhai, who was aged only 1:45. 12:30 in the afternoon, she is playing happily with all of us. I am going to my clinic, and from one clinic I am coming to second clinic. I am receiving a phone call, please rush home. Before I reach home, she is no more. Okay? Of course, Shailesh's Prakruti, which you say precondition, started showing me the effects. Oh, I didn't get a chance. I'm a doctor. I saved so many. Here, nature didn't give me a chance. For moments, the thing started showing effects. After a few moments, Prajna started working. Whatever has happened. It cannot be undone. Happened is vyavasthit. It is just and correct. And what has happened? Then Prajna started telling me, whosoever is gone is nothing but transformation of the relative phases. The real is immortal. And why are you binding her here? She may have migrated to higher state of being. So we started praying that wherever that pure soul is, it remain in eternal peace. And hey Simandar Swami, hey Dada Bhagwan, whomsoever we believe, bless that soul in such a way that path to liberation becomes obstruction free. No sooner we started that, we also become steady. So these two things will work inside. One, effects. Dadaji gave a very good principle. Each sentence is a fundamental. And I request Suresh Bhai Sahib and Parikh Sahib that please appoint the scholars to have the thesis on each sentence. Dadaji said one sentence, mind, body and speech are effective. Effective means the event occurs. Whether you want it or you don't want it, effect will start sprouting, which you say is precondition. At the same time, there is another light. So long it was Agnya Shakti, which was multiplying these effects. Now it is the enlightened wisdom, which is resolving those effects and putting it in line of the correct understanding. Both the forces work even today within us, and ultimately the side of the light wins. I hope my thing answers your question, right? Please.
Yeah, Namaskaram. You actually brought out a point of trying to see oneself in others. A jnani sees it naturally because he has reached the ultimate state. But for us, we are at the level of body-mind, so we see duality. Is there any practical technique that you can suggest transactionally till we reach that state where one sees oneself in others?
Right. So if you have observed me carefully, even in relative living, I try to watch myself, and when I try to watch myself, I feel that world is me only because I give examples. Suppose I'm meeting you. Now, if my heart is blooming, even if you, without any condition, that, oh, let me love you. I don't have expectation of reciprocation from you, but no sooner I tried, oh, you are a nice person. No sooner I try to help you. No sooner I try to oblige you. My heart is full. And then I realize I'm doing for myself. I'm not doing for any of you. I have come here for myself, not for you, any of you. And that's a hard fact. So with this simple principle, that each action of my mind, body, speech, on the surface it appears it is for others. It's really affecting me and for my own sake. So this makes me, even in duality dealings, to experience me in others, right? No sooner I am trying to fire my staff. Of course, I have fired my staff. He will listen because I am his boss. But I get disturbed. I become moodless. I say, no, right now my mood is not correct. Please come after half an hour. If I introject it scientifically, me and my staff are not different because my actions are ultimately affecting me, even though outside it is my staff. So even in relative dealings, by relative point of view, if I just learn to see within me what's happening. Dadaji did only this thing, observation. Observation as a neutral scientist. What's happening within? when somebody praises me and when somebody abuses me. When I am praising somebody or I am abusing, he just watched his mind-body speech as a neutral observer and he came out with the science. So this is on a relative plane of living, experiencing what happens in interconnected, interpersonal dealings, even though person is not known. Suppose sometimes you are traveling in a train or a plane and you, to make your journey full, oh, will you like to have something from your dish, my dish? And your whole journey, oh, warm and nice and, oh, I had a nice time. That foolish, he doesn't know how to sit. And believe me, at the end of your journey, you will be tired. So that other is at his place, but it is you in that other which has affected you. And when you have both the viewpoints open, relative and real, with the vision of real, it is the elemental vision which I have experienced in me and with which I can see your elemental form, whether you are praising me or whether you are scolding me, whether you are abusing me or whether you are helping me. That's a relative happening. I can see the real, perpetual, pure self, which is as pure as it Mahavir, Lord, or Dada Bhagwan. It is 24 karat pure gold. Then what is the difference in that and us? Our gold is covered with ore of impurities, and their gold has been purified to nearly 24 karat. Mahavir is absolute 24 karat, and Dada Bhagwan is nearest to 24 karat. So this is the real. So even if one has not understood real point of view, even relatively one can line up, and our intellect knows that really, elementally, everybody has the God within. So try to practice, right? And once you start reaping the fruits in the form of inner happiness, inner upliftment, inner satisfaction, inner light, I keep on thinking within my laboratory, by obliging what happens? I have enough of problems with me. I am not obliging others. That I have already said. What else happens? My atoms and molecules become positive. My aura becomes positive. My attracting power becomes positive. It will attract positive people to me, even if I am not knowing them. And you must have experienced different people going to same person, same officer. To one he says, no, get out. And to, no, I will do your job. What changes are occurring that he is behaving differently to different persons? My own vibrations, my own internal environment is showcasing, projecting onto him. World is nothing but my own vibrations, my own echo. And with this experience, I think one can see me into everybody.
I would like to endorse your statement, what you talked to Mr. Parikh, that we must have a lot of scholars talking about this subject, because today the world is in hands of people, those who don't know what is a oneness paradigm, you know, because that can do wonders. The kind of mindset, you know, yes, we should be grateful. There is a oneness paradigm, grateful to the God for whatever has been given, so that only can spare us from the greed and fear and security and sort of ego. And oneness comes in, all the problems are solved. That's where, as you have mentioned, the normal and the real natural life. Yeah. And I think I endorse that. We must sponsor as many scholars possible, and definitely we have a capacity. Being, you know, I am one of the giants, and a number of persons, whoever is connected with this movement, definitely they understand. We see that a real application in day-to-day life, provided we understand this. Though I have understood only 10% of it, and hardly I am practicing 1%, but still I see a lot of change in me. So once through scholars and this kind of Shibir, seminars, you know, we can spread the message more across. It will be useful to the society. Thank you.
And for our own self-interest, we will request that you permit us to be with you in this endeavor. So I think time is up. We respect the time. I don't want to encroach the time of the other speaker, and then only about normality is maintained. So Manish Bhai, please announce the further.
Yeah, thank you very much for the splendid explanation and answering all the questions to the satisfaction of the participants. We'll now break for tea. for 15 minutes and reassemble after 15 minutes. We have been maintaining the time, so if we maintain, I think we'll really enjoy the remaining sessions.